amazing topic today, and it's all about the time to empower, and empower whom? The new generation of entrepreneurs. And who is here with us today? A very special person, Himanshu Wardhan. And Himanshu is the managing director for India for Etsy. And I think, Etsy is not a new name for people who are into the space of micro enterprise and are looking at starting with a dream, and the dream getting bigger and the plan getting bigger. And it provides the marketplace for people who really are creators, even a small little piece of creation that you want somebody to acknowledge it is something that's possible on his platform. So I would request Radhika, because we were together at the Fashion Colloquium, and the Fashion Colloquium was an international research colloquium that we did from 25th to 30th of January. So we attracted around 20 countries, around 30 plus colleges and universities from across the globe, who brought in researchers on responsible future. And when you say responsible future, when it comes about fashion and accessories and lifestyle products, it's really important that we understand what conscious living is all about. And finally, we came up with signing with the Jaipur Fashion Manifesto, which was then acknowledged by all these countries. And with Himanshu, I got to chat at I want to thank Sanjoy Roy here for having introduced me to Himanshu Wardhan. And we had chat at the Jaipur Literature Festival, which was on textile heritage. And Etsy was kind enough to sponsor that chat session, where we had the professor from London College of Fashion and Professor Anik Shtami from University of Antwerp and Sanjay Garg on the platform. And this was a pre-colloquium initiative of the pre-colloquium at the Jaipur Literature Festival. And then we had these 3 days of conversations where we had 80 plus researchers talking about, how young people need to look at what responsible fashion or responsible future would look like. So Radhika was shadowing me all over the place, and she had some really good thoughts about Himanshu. Yeah. So I'd like Radhika. Radhika has just completed a foundation program and is a student of interior design. So Radhika, please introduce Himanshu in your words. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Archana ma'am. So, hi everyone, good evening. My name is Radhika Shivare. I'm an interior designing student from Arts College of Design and Business. So, I welcome Himanshu, sir, Managing Director of Etsy India. It was really inspiring and informative when I attended his panel in JLF. And when he spoke about how digital media will help us stimulate the final product, and how Etsy has given identity to micro scale entrepreneurs from all over the country and given them a platform, an online platform to share their story and journey with us. Because I've understood that it is really important for a young generation like me and budding entrepreneurs to understand the importance of online platform and digital platform, which will help us in future during this time. Because I think digital platform is something which will help us to connect now, which will help us to connect to the other side of the world. So I'm really thankful for him. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would ask Megha ma'am to please start the presentation.
Yeah, so before Radhika, so I was just reading about Himanshu, and Himanshu is a technology executive, right? So while he says that he started his career in the US and studied there with the University of Virginia, and has worked with a lot of MNCs, worked with McKinsey, worked with Craftsvilla, and then there comes Etsy in his life. It's going to be a live chat with Himanshu. So Himanshu, while you've been in the US, you studied there, you worked there, what were your early life influences, and what really got you to come back to India after having been there for so long?
Yep. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Archana, Radhika, and everybody else at Arch for having me here today. I'm really excited to be talking to all of you about on a range of topics about Etsy in India or my journey. So really look forward to a lot of kind of an interactive session next few for next 1 hour. It's kind of interesting because I've mostly been a finance and operations person, more of a business person. I started out as an analyst with the McKinsey and Company in India. Then I went to the US, did my MBA from University of Virginia. I got my CFA charter holder, which was a completely financial investment portfolio. And I moved around. I worked in New York again as a consultant, and then I moved to San Francisco, where I had my own startup, which was a mentorship community called Mentmo.com. I exited that, and in late 2015, I moved back to India. um, I did have a desire to move back to India in the medium to long term. And end of 2000 was, from a personal and a professional point of view, turned out to be a perfect opportunity. I didn't really have plans. I didn't start 2015 thinking that I would move back to India. I always thought that I would move back to India maybe 5 years later or so. But then there were some personal circumstances, and then professionally also, I got some interesting opportunities. And I said, hey, if I have to think about moving to India 5 years down the line, then why not now, before I get sort of too used to and too comfortable. I'd already stayed in the US for about 6 years. I'd gotten to the used to the life there. But I was sure that I wanted to spend a large part of my life back in India, where my family was and where I grew up. So that's what led to my move back to India late 2015, and I was in Mumbai for about a year as head of operations for another e-commerce company, and then I started to work with Etsy, and then I moved to Delhi after that.
Interesting. So, it seems as if, a finance and a tech background helps in today's time. And while you have a product like, which is completely hands-on, people are, it's all about products, but does it really have an advantage to be a technocrat and be a finance person if you're looking at a tech-based business?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because in a technology company, but I'm not an engineer. Actually, I'm more of a finance and operations person. I did my bachelor's in business studies. Uh, so even though I work for a technology company and I lead the operations for a technology company in India, I'm not a software engineer. I can't really code as such. In terms of the finance and operations knowledge, I think it does help to kind of lead and run any business that you are doing. A general management knowledge of finance, operation, and marketing is helpful to kind of run it as a general manager for a particular geography or for a particular company. So I think that definitely comes in handy for sure. But at the same point of time, I do have to say that in last 3-4 years, since I've been in this specific industry, I've gotten really interested about design. So I myself have been gotten into design, and whether it's space design or some product design as well. And honestly, I didn't know that I had that side of my personality previously. It's just that in last 3-4 years, when I met so many inspiring designers and entrepreneurs who were on Etsy, um, who were on Etsy, is what kind of really inspired me to and really made me realize that I also have an interest in on the other side, which is more of a creative side. So yeah, I would say having cross section of skills, whether it's finance, operations, and marketing, helps. But then it's really your passion and interest in design is what defines if you want to be a fashion entrepreneur or a design entrepreneur. All the other things is something that you can sort of learn over a period of time to in the process of building a business.
So what I understand is that when you can really got in touch with your creative skills, right? So that's where Etsy actually happened into your life. Oh, so now I hear that you have a lot of stories to talk about Etsy, the people on the platform, the kind of stories they have, and that's where you resonate most with them. Would you like to share a couple of stories with us?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I think before I do that, I would just quickly sort of talk about Etsy itself. Most people would know about it, but maybe for the benefit of people who do not know about Etsy, Etsy is a global marketplace for handmade and unique products. It's a US based company. Our headquarters is in Brooklyn, New York. We are listed on Nasdaq. Our market cap is anywhere between $9-10 billion, and and we were founded in 2005, and we were sort of one of the original sort of peer-to-peer e-commerce companies, or part of the a company that kind of in some ways defined and started the sharing economy. Is because it's a two-sided marketplace where we have creative entrepreneurs, about 2.7 million of them, who are making or designing products themselves. And then we have about 47 million buyers on the other side, who are buying these products from these 2.7 million creative entrepreneurs. And 87%, and they are in nearly every country in the world. It's not restricted to US or some of the places where we have offices, but nearly every country in the world. Out of these 2.7 million, 87% are women, 97% are home-based creative entrepreneurs, and 53% of them were not even a business. They were not even an entrepreneur. They were just a designer or a hobbyist or a person who used to practice some form of craft. And with Etsy, they actually they sold their first product, and they started their journey to become a brand or a business. And one, a couple of very good examples from India are, one is, Chrcha Kapas. I don't know how many of you know Chrcha Kapas. Shilpi Yadav from Chrcha Kapas started her journey from Etsy in 2013. And now she's really created her products are very interesting, exciting. She's really created a brand for herself and a very interesting set of products. And she's become, she's doing very well in terms of not just on Etsy, but beyond, through her own kind of studio and other digital channels as well. That's one sort of interesting and very sort of creative journey. Somebody that started out very small and really became a known brand, and created a very sort of known brand. The other couple of stories are, there's Ruchi, who runs this shop called Etsy shop called Comfy Mommy from her home in Lucknow. She's sold more than 50,000 customized maternity wear gowns from her home in Lucknow, and she was earlier an assistant producer in Mumbai. She had to leave her job after she got married and had a kid. She moved back to Lucknow, and she started her Etsy shop. And it's just inspiring because most of her products have been exported. Most people don't even know that there's somebody like Ruchi who is sitting in Lucknow operating from her home, and she's sold more than 50,000 customized maternity wear gowns to even people in like smallest of countries. Like, she talks about countries that she's never heard of in some Asia Pacific or some other in region where she gets orders from. There are a lot of other stories. There's Kriti from Hyderabad. She met with an accident. She had to leave her job, and then she started her Etsy shop because she was homebound and she was a mom as well. And she does it as a creative expression, not just from the point of view of supplementing or supplementing income, but also as a creative expression and coming back into the workforce. So like these three, there are hundreds of such stories that we have from across India. And they're doing some incredible things. I mean, they're doing things that you can't even like think about. There are a couple of architects based out of Mumbai. They run this Etsy shop and brand called Material Immaterial, and they are architects, but they have created they've created interesting jewelry from concrete, from cement. Now, again, it's just phenomenal, and you see their products, and they're just phenomenal. Now that's the kind of uniqueness that a lot of our different sellers from India are bringing, and that's what inspires me on a daily basis. I mean, this is probably the best job that anyone could have had. not to kind of make everybody feel jealous about it, but it is really the best job that anybody could get, is because I get to interact with these people. I get to be part of the team that facilitates them to build their businesses and to become brands to a larger audience, and also have real overall on a overall basis, we are able to have a lot of social, economic, and environmental impact, not just in India but across the world.
Interesting. So, what I hear is that besides your story, now you've gotten a lot of other stories to share all the time. So, if you have these young people, because I have these young graduates, and they were very keen on asking a question that, ma'am, can we ask a question? I said, why not, So, Sahil, Radhika, you're going to get the opportunity to ask him a question right away.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You can, Sahil, you can go first.
Okay. So, sir, my question was, when we talk about story sharing, and HC as a platform is providing a place to share your own story and to create a market out of it. What was the idea behind it of sharing story, selling story? And adding to it is what happens with being a creative person. When I create something, I have so much of sentiment attached to it. But when I go and sell it out in the world, it's very difficult to sell. What can be the pathway to achieve that process of creating itself?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question, and actually, that's one of the key things that differentiates Etsy from other e-commerce platforms. And you can check it out anytime, at any point of time. But when you go to Etsy.com, then you would see shop of a particular designer or the maker of the product. It's not that you're buying from Etsy. Etsy is just facilitating that process through being a technology platform. But they'll be very clear that this shop is Comfy Mommy, and this is the story of Ruchi, and there's a story behind each and every product. And when you compare it to other platforms, most of the other e-commerce platforms, you would realize that it's about just the product. You would not even know who's the seller that you're buying from, and you don't know anything about the product, any background about the product, how it was created, what was the process, what was the inspiration behind it, what is the inspiration behind the design, what is the inspiration behind the person. So for us, that has definitely helped us to create a very good differentiation amongst the buyers, because when buyers are buying the product, they're also buying part of the story of the person who is making the product. They are also kind of in some ways exchanging or getting part of the emotion of the maker of the product. To give you an example, when my daughter was born, I was sent a gift by somebody through Etsy. It was a small toy with my daughter's name knitted on it, hand knitted on it. It came from France in a crumbled envelope with a French housewife's handwriting, with her name written on the envelope. Then when I opened it, then there was this small toy with her name hand knitted on the toy. It was a soft toy, and then it was customized. And then there was again a very nice note to congratulate on the birth of her, uh, uh, again written in a very kind of personalized handwriting. Now, that's the kind of experience that is very difficult to replicate, let's say, when it comes in a standardized box where there's no story of the product or the seller. It just cannot be the same experience. So whenever people are looking for something unique, something to gift for themselves, or something to express that about themselves also, is that's when they look for Etsy as a platform. Of course, when you want to buy for when you want to buy a diaper or a toilet roll or a TV or something, you don't need to know the story behind these products. You just need to get them very quickly, very cheaply, and then you want to be satisfied with it. But when you are buying something unique and special and customized, then you want to have a story behind it. And also that's when you are willing to pay a premium for these products as well. And that's why buyers are willing to pay a premium for these products, is because they understand that somebody is not making them on in large factories or machines. There's somebody who is sitting at home and maybe spending few hours in making and customizing these products. Now, the other part of your question was about, you have a lot of sentiments and how do you express about it. See, I think there are two parts to being. There are multiple parts to being a business, but at a very basic level, there are two parts. There's one part of creating a product, and the other part of is about communicating your product, which is called marketing. So creating a product is where a lot of sentiments come in. The communication part is where I think there are some interesting visualization techniques that could be used in order to communicate your sentiments. I've seen a lot of sellers create short videos from their phones itself, and do some basic editing to explain how this product is made. That they say that, hey, I'm making this product, I'm knitting it. It takes 3 hours to do that. So when a person comes to your Etsy shop or to your website or whatever channel that you are selling through, they see the process and they are able to connect and appreciate the process and the maker behind it. So think about a lot of visual means to tell up the story, especially if there's a graphic motion or any visual means that you can figure out in order to a written, because now people are consuming more instantly in the age of social media. They want to be looking at a picture and absorbing it very quickly rather than read a lot of lines. Few of them will, but if you use visual images and videos, then people will grasp it much better and will are likely to probably buy the product much better.
Right. So, I had this question where somebody wanted to ask, that now with the limited consumerism, right? Would the fashions or would fashion still sell, or would selling be that kind? So I really hear what you're saying is it is the emotional connect with it which will be more important when you're actually looking at buying something. So I think the whole, I think even nations like UK to the US, they've all started this initiative of made in UK or made in the US, because they again want to get back to the whole idea that it is our people, our consciousness, our, the whole emotional connect of, the identity that's again coming in. So very well answered this question. So Radhika, you had your question, right? Yeah.
Yes, so thank you, ma'am. So, sir, as you see in India, even now, traditional form of buying, like there is online platforms to buy product, but always traditional way of buying products overshadow it. So, do you think post COVID-19, the online platforms will be used more than traditional products, because as it can be spread by touching, so it'll be really difficult for us to try. We'll be really conscious when we try stuff or we touch stuff physically. So do you think that post COVID-19, the traditional way of purchasing or traditional retailing will be deteriorated and online platform will be more, been there, shown that, okay, you can buy from online platform?
So are you asking that will the e-commerce ensure that, the hygiene and the sanitation part of the products, how are you going to ensure that versus something that's sold, face to face, right? Okay.
Okay.
Sure. So first of all, in the context of where India is in terms of its online retailing journey or e-commerce journey, we are probably in day zero anyways, even before the current times. When you think about the overall retail trade in India, e-commerce or online selling is hardly 3 to 4% of the retail overall retail sales in India. So we were honestly just starting our journey in e-commerce anyways. But I do believe that in the coming years, we are going to see a very, very fast acceleration in people moving more online from offline channels. I'm not saying that offline retailing will disappear completely. It cannot. I think there are a lot of experiences that people will have offline, even in a lot of other economies where e-commerce has penetrated quite a lot. There's offline retailing that is still relevant and that is still happening, whether it's in China or US. But then e-commerce has become a larger part of the retail trade than what it is in India. Now, imagine that somebody who is 19 or 20-year-old right now, um, just imagine that today, that person's, especially when you consider the current times, that person is completely digitally native. The way the person is consuming all the content is mostly through through social media channels or through OTTs, or now having interactions over calls like these over Zoom or other webinar formats. Now, a lot of these people who are going to be very digitally native, that they're very good with phones and computers and online digital channels, they are all consuming all the content, at least today, or most of the content online rather than on newspaper or TV or a lot of other mediums as it used to happen. When you consider that, and so right now, a 19, 20-year-old might not have a lot of spending power, but 10 years down the line, they are the ones who are going to have almost all the spending power is going to be concentrated in that kind of generation that is going to be somewhere between 25 to 40 years old. So given that, I think that irrespective of the current times that we are in, I do feel that that digital and e-commerce would have become a lot more mainstream and maybe a predominant channel of retail in India than but with the current scenario, with obviously this particular pandemic, I do feel that this is probably going to accelerate it even more, because now businesses. Just imagine what you, if you are, let's say, a small label or even a big label, the kind of real estate cost that you have to bear in terms of rentals, or the kind of other overheads that you have to bear during these times will probably start to become a little unsustainable for next few months. And there is going to be a little bit of concern even amongst the buyers of how much they want to go out and shop, especially the discretionary spend. They would probably go and buy vegetables and daily essentials, but would they buy a lot of fashion products? Is something that needs to be seen. So I definitely think that there is going to be these times could potentially accelerate towards online and digital commerce, which I think is actually a great thing for somebody who is a new entrepreneur, whether a design entrepreneur or other kind of entrepreneur who is just starting out. Because just imagine what it takes to start your business or you start your label on an online platform. It just takes an internet connection. It takes very limited investment in creating the products. You don't need to create tons of inventory. You can start small. You can start with just 15, 20 products. You can start with just a couple of inventory or a couple of small quantities of each of these products. You can start to go online, and you can start to put in small amount of money in digital marketing now. Like, you don't need to go out and buy ad space in a newspaper or TV, which nobody, a small entrepreneur, could never do unless they reached a certain scale. Now you can start to create your own label out of your home with very, very little investment. So I do think that actually this is going to be a big leveler. This is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of new entrepreneurs who want to start their own businesses to get online, because they would almost be starting their business on the same footing or equal footing as a lot of bigger brands. A lot of bigger brands who did not have any online presence or online selling. Now they are coming online and selling online. And if you're a small entrepreneur and if you're creative with content and telling the story and taking pictures, then you could almost start with an equal footing with a lot of established brands as well.
Nice. So Himanshu, there is this query that, that there are lacks of listing. So how does one ensure that one is visible? And because I understand that your platform has so many users, and while you were talking about 2.7 million people internationally across so many nationalities, and with India, I think every home has that creative spark, and I think they're all almost everybody's on your platform now. So congratulations for that difference that you've made. So how does one look at this aspect in terms of the listing and be?
Yeah, I think the key thing is to actually find your niche. I feel when you are starting out, if you start and you want to compete in every product category or every design, I don't think a big established retailer or a big established designer will any day beat you out, or somebody who's already established on a platform will likely beat you out. So the better way is to start by identifying what specific product category do you want to sell and who is going to be your potential customer. So I think it's very important, and the good part is that with platforms like Etsy and other digital platform, you can target your customers much better as well. So find your niche, and there are enough examples of that. There are I talked about Comfy Mommy, I talked about Kriti. They found their niche. I mean, Comfy Mommy, Ruchi does customized maternity wear. That's a very niche, but still she's sold more than 50,000 products, and she's created a space for herself on the platform and a brand for herself. So I think what is important is to actually figure out what niche, what target customer that you want to serve, what is the product that you are passionate about, and then also when you are writing description, it's actually better to actually come out in the search. It's better to use very specific descriptions and keywords rather than using a very broad one. Just to give you an example, a lot of people think that if they are making, let's say, a skirt, so they would say that they would use if they think that, hey, if I use the word skirt, then it's high likelihood that my product will get discovered, because it's a generic word, so a lot of people are searching for it. If a lot of people are searching for skirt, then there's a very high likelihood that a lot of people are also just using the word skirt, and then you are one of the thousands or hundreds of sellers who are selling, and you might not come onto the top. But let's say if you're very specific and you say that, hey, this product is red cotton or specific skirt, kind of style design skirt, red bohemia skirt or something like that. So now there are going to be people, when you have 47 million buyers across the world, there are people searching for very specific things. So as soon as somebody searches for red skirt or a Hawaiian or a bohemia skirt, as you have labeled it, most likelihood you will be one of the top results, because not a lot of people are going to be selling them. So I think it's going to be it ends up becoming a little bit of a trial and error process. You start with that, you be as specific as possible in terms of tagging, and then you kind of iterate on that. You see that, hey, this thing is working, where you try 5-6 things or 5-6 ways of describing a product, and something works, and then you start to do more of it. I think that's the process for any business, especially a digital business now, to get visibility.
Right, Himanshu. So somebody's just asked the question, how can one become an entrepreneur if one isn't financially well? So now the questions are going to get a bit more generic around how one is looking at entrepreneurship or empowering the whole ecosystem and looking at creative enterprise. So I think a lot of our conversation has been around that, where we have been talking about that even if you don't have a lot of money, while we've been talking about that the brick and mortar would actually take in a lot of funds, you need to manage logistics to inventory, whereas an online space can actually ease out and right from investment on manpower, and everything gets minimized. I think still I would like you to answer this, because
Yep.
I feel you've in some way or the other, the conversation has been completely around this, where we are really talking about that even with the least minimum investment that you have, you can actually create a shop and go digital and be in the marketplace on the world space, right? So please give me some more insights.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think let's actually just pick up any category. Let's pick up a category of, let's say, jewelry. If you are a jewelry designer, if you make jewelry, And if you want to be an entrepreneur and start a business, what does it take now? Internet connection. Most of you have an internet connection if you're in this particular call. You don't need a faster internet connection than this if you're able to view our video. Uh, uh, the second thing, so how much money does it take? It doesn't take any incremental money than what you are already spending. Then now what you need to do is just create some products. Let's say you want to just create 10 or 15 products. You get started, you buy some raw material. You can easily come up with 10 or 15 jewelry products, maybe not precious metal, but the non-precious category. You can make 10 or 15 products, maybe 2-3 quantity of each one of them in less than 5,000-10,000 rupees. I mean, I'm just sort of, I can't imagine that it'll cost anywhere less than more than 10,000 rupees to create some of these products, even for a very bare minimum inventory. And even if you do not have 10,000, you might have like 5,000, you might have 2,000 or 3,000 rupees. So you can still start with at least 10, 15 products. Then what do you need? You need to create a brand. Brand creation is a creative process. If you're a creative person who is making some products and starting a business, then I'm sure you can express and you can create your own brand, come up with a brand name. Now you have to just click once you get once you make the products and by procuring the raw material, you just need to click the pictures. You can click the pictures from your smartphone. You don't need, there are enough kind of apps and tools in order to click the pictures and process them on your own. You don't need to even hire a professional photographer when you are starting out and when you are constrained for resources. You can click picture from your smartphone. And I assume most of you would have smartphones. Again, I can't imagine in most of the urban areas that people do not have smartphones, especially if they're designers or budding designers. So all in all, what it takes is literally very, very little money. It might be pocket money for a few of them. Even if people have sort of constrained resources, they can figure out and manage, few thousand rupees to get started at least. And then there are platforms like Etsy that help you to start without really spending any money. You don't need to spend any money to get on a platform like Etsy. You just need to experiment a bit, and then you can also experiment with certain other ways of selling your products, whether it is through some pop-ups, some other ways of doing that. It could be some other online channels as well. There are a lot of ways that you can reach out after you've created the product. But in all, it doesn't take that much money actually to get started. And now compare it to the times 10 years back or 15, 20 years back. If you were a designer, if you want to start your own label, you would need to rent out a boutique space. Some people might do it from their homes, but you would still need to get a lot of inventory. You would still need to advertise how do you get to people? You would have to advertise, and you would need to do it through word of mouth. And that process actually involved a much larger level of investment. That process involved investment of 5-10 lakh rupees even to get barely started. At least in few lakhs to just barely get started. And now what you need is just like few thousand rupees to get started. Once you start selling the products, you make profit out of it, then you can take the profit and reinvest that profit back in growth. And instead of 15 products, you will come up with 30 products, and you do well with those 30, then you do 100, and then you do 500. That's how a lot of businesses grow. That's a in entrepreneurial terminology, that's called bootstrapping. A lot of businesses are built with that kind of bootstrapping approach. It's not a lot of investor money that everybody raises.
There's a question that can your platform connect designers or young entrepreneurs to artisans from across the country whom they can engage them in their projects? Is that a possibility?
Our platform does not do that. Our platform is a marketplace that connects buyers and sellers of the product, so it does not. However, we are making an attempt to get a lot of traditional artisans directly onto the platform. So there could be opportunities for people to buy directly from those artisans. Maybe we were sitting in Varanasi, or we are working with the government of Odisha, or we had plans before the COVID. We'll revive those plans to work with some of the tribal districts in order to educate them about getting online. So there could be few opportunities to kind of interact with those people by kind of buying their products or reaching out through a platform. Uh, but there's not a direct kind of, it's not a platform for connecting designers with the viewers. It's a platform for connecting people who are creative entrepreneurs to the buyers of the products and build them as a business. But there are a lot of interesting organizations. If any of you want to work with, we've done a lot of interesting work with Jaya Jetli ji, Laila Tyab ji, Rajiv Sethi ji, a lot of interesting sort of craft leaders. They are running some interesting organizations that can help you and to connect with these people if you're looking to.
Right, Himanshu. So I think we've had an extremely engaging chat, and we've spent almost 45 minutes chatting with each other. And people say that 45 minutes is the ideal where people can actually keep up with their patience and, have the listening going on. So do you guys want, on the chat box, people can write if they have a couple of questions. I can just take one or two more, and then we'll wrap up. So we have Sutipriya. She's asking that, how does one decide on the products and the pricing of it?
Yeah. See, pricing is always a sort of an interesting thing, especially for a category or for the kind of product that is unique. So if it's a commodity, as an entrepreneur, you have to kind of figure out what product are you selling. So if you are selling a commodity, if I were to take a very simple product, let's say a basmati rice, there's going to be a price that is going to be in the market. You can't charge a lot of premium because a basmati is a basmati. It could be premium basmati, it could be aged basmati. But if other people are selling similar grade of basmati, then they're probably charging the same price. So there's not a lot of this thing on the pricing. For a product that is created, which is unique, which is designer, which is I think you have to kind of determine the pricing. You have to probably do a bit of research and determine the pricing based on by figuring out how unique your product is. Let's say if it is just a simple T-shirt with a simple color or a coat that maybe a lot of other people are selling, not same but similar, then you can't charge a lot of premium because there are a lot of other people doing that as well. But let's say you come up with an interesting dress design that you are only selling, or an interesting print that you are only getting made, then you can potentially charge a lot of premium, because if you figure out that there is a demand for this, then you can figure out and charge a lot of premium. Some of our sellers do a lot of research. Also, you can go onto the platform. On our platform, we have over 60 million products being sold by these 2.7 million products sellers. So once you have these 60 million products, you can do a bit of research. You can go and search for products in similar categories, maybe with similar aesthetics, and see what is the price points that they are selling at, and try to price the product something similar to that. Um, you should build in good margins for these products. These products are created with a lot of care, love, and thought process. This is not a commodity product, so it's very difficult to value the product just based on the cost of the material that you put in, because there's an intangible aspect, which is the amount of time and effort that you are spending into it. So you should kind of see what is the kind of demand that the product might have, and what are the other kind of products that might be available, and price it accordingly.
Yeah, so thank you, Himanshu, for sharing your insights on this, because while we had Sahil, who started with sharing that he's a student of our design and entrepreneurship program. Within the undergraduate 4 years program also, we have our ESL activities, and we give them a simple to complex business plan year after year. The idea is, because I am a homegrown entrepreneur, I started with 2 rooms from my residence in the year 2000, when I moved from Delhi to got married into the city. I said, what do I do here? People said, after Delhi, Jaipur doesn't have opportunities, and I felt that this has been the land of opportunity for me. It has taken me globally. It has taken me across the world. So definitely with our, I feel when we are talking about, pricing is very important. And within programs in design, I think somewhere we really need to see the business aspect is equally taught. Accounts to bookkeeping and pricing of a product, because you are not likely to be as a part of the workforce if you don't understand the business aspect of design. You know, creativity is one aspect, but getting it to the masses, and if any design does not sell, it's not a good design. So I think that's very simple. You know, people keep asking me, we made a good design, ye ho nahi raha hai, whatever. I said, man, you got to see the other parts. It's got the art, it got the science, it got the technology, you've got to know the commerce bit of it clear. So very well said. So there is one question which has just come up, a couple of more, in fact, people are very impressed with the way you're answering. So they've said that, they'd like to stay in touch with us and like to more. A couple have said, that who's done this session. So they want to thank Arch as well. So thank you. And this is Arch College of Design and Business. And we are here based in Jaipur. And we've run programs in fashion, jewelry, interiors, craft and accessory design, product design, and interior design. So all these are 4-year bachelor's in design program affiliated with the University of Rajasthan. It took me 15 years to get these as degree pathways because, though I started in 2 rooms, but, we started with short diploma programs and then, started with a degree in 2003. But having a regular university acknowledge it as a mainstream pathway was quite a bit, it was difficult. But I understand that India has a huge unorganized sector, and I think all these crafts and the hand skills always were there. And the best thing is that we have a community, we have a craftsman, we have them just close by. Every state is so unique in its character when it comes to its weaves, its pottery, its tatera, its metal art, its different kind of techniques that it has. So today I was sitting on a jury panel with Her and Now. That's a program initiated by the Center for Entrepreneurship with Startup Oasis in Jaipur, and with TIE being as a knowledge partner there. So being a TIE charter member, I got this opportunity to be a part of the jury. And I was seeing that, while platforms like yours are really giving very easy access, there are a lot of people who are thinking in terms of looking at the crafts being, their major, the backbone of the business. Because with sustainable luxury getting all the more importance after the COVID times, conscious buying, conscious living, and valuing people once again would be very, very, I think will really become important. So, just a year back, not even a year back, some 6 months back. So I'd like to share that Cumulus is a forum of 250 plus member institutions in art, design, media, and architecture. And we are a member institution as well. And they floated an international competition. And the international competition was by Committee Colbert, which is the French luxury brands. They got together, worked with an institution, Ecole Boule, Ensama. These are the premium schools in France, in Paris. And they said, what would French luxury look like in 2070? That was what the competition was. And what it all boiled down to was that emotions are going to be luxury. And I think COVID has given us a lesson where we have started valuing emotions again. And valuing emotions truly means that I think, again, who made my clothes, like kind of hashtags. We were really talking about responsible future. We were talking about conscious living. But I think after COVID, this has gotten ingrained in our mindsets now. And it has become really important that, we all acknowledge that there's a whole new possibility. While we all became so fond of the word disruption, now it has disrupted every life. So nobody is now left untouched by the disruption word. So that's the beauty I see here. And thank you so much for being here. So there's another an ex-student who's here. It's a bit of a typical question which is there from him. He says that he's asking around something around sales. What is the refund policy kind of thing that you have if the product is not up to the mark, or how does it work in that thing? So with this question, we'll just end the session.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for us, for Etsy is it's a technology platform. So it's almost like in a physical world, you could almost think of this as a very nice marketplace or a mall, and you create your own shop and you set up your own policy. So you can set up your own refund policy. You can set. I'm sorry, I was on mute. I didn't realize that. Am I audible now?
Yeah. There's somebody else's phone which is on mute,
Okay.
and there's some water trickling.
Okay. So am I audible? Like, did I? Were you? Should I start from?
Now you're mute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, now it's good. Now it's good.
Okay, great. So yeah, so it is a technology platform. It's a marketplace in a physical world. You could think of it as a mall for unique and creative products, and you set up your own shop. And if you have your own shop in a mall, then you have your own refund policies, return policies, and all of those things. The only thing that we ensure is that the buyer doesn't have a bad experience, or even seller doesn't have a bad experience for that matter. For us, both are very, very important. In case you as a seller, send a defective product, do not, deliver to the buyers what you have promised as per your shop, then we get in and then we kind of help to resolve it and solve it for the buyer. So we do make sure that there's some sort of a guarantee that Etsy provides to the buyer in the process. But all in all, most of the times what we see is that if buyer has any problem, they directly get in touch with sellers, and sellers want to create their brand and they want to delight the customer and the buyer. So they end up actually resolving the issue before even it comes to Etsy. So you can set up your own policies. There are some recommended policies that are buyer friendly that we would give you, but you are free to choose your own policy. You just have to make them very clear upfront rather than leaving it to imagination of the buyer when they're buying the product.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think everybody is really acknowledging you for all the insights that you've given today. So I'll just have this as again, what key activities would you recommend entrepreneurs to invest their time in? Wow, beautiful. So that's the closing question then.
Yeah. So I think that's a very good question, because I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're starting out, they don't value their time that much, actually. They think that money is a constraint, so they would save on everything, which is a good thing, but they don't value on how they are spending the time also. So it's very important, when you have 24 hours in a day, and people have personal lives, family lives as well, your time, every time that you spend does become very important. So I would say, I think some of the activities to think about is really be very, very, so there are 3-4 things to think about. One is really figuring out what is the product that you are making. Is that product unique or not? Is that product that is different from other people are making, especially in the specific category? That's one of the things to think about. Then second, obviously, in making the product itself. The third thing is to spend time in figuring out and researching the buyer. Who is the buyer going to be? What is the age group? What is the spending power? Where is the buyer based? If that is in India, if that is in Delhi, where they might be living in Delhi, what part of Delhi? Are they affluent? Are they middle class? Are they sort of more masses? So spending a lot of time and really thinking about and coming up with those answers would be important. Then the next step is going to be communication and telling your story through visual medium. I think that is again going to be very important, because I can tell you that you can create the best of the product, but if you sell online with a bad picture, it will not sell. If you sell it with a bad story, it will not sell. And if you create a very average product but get very good pictures, very good, maybe if it's a fashion thing, then get it on a model, ask one of your friends or yourself or to do it. And if you can get very good visuals, then you can start to create a desire in the buyer based on looking at the picture itself. So spend a lot of time in creating a communication strategy for your brand. Invest time in creating a brand itself. Don't just do it for making a product for 100 rupees and then selling it for 150 rupees because you get 50 rupees profit. If you're not making a brand, then that might be short-lived. Somebody else might be coming and doing the same thing, similar product, copying your product and doing the same thing. But if you're creating a brand, then there's a trust element that you've created with the potential buyer. And then even if it's the same product that somebody's selling, they would still want to buy it from you because there's a brand, there's a promise, there's a trust that comes with what you have built till a certain point of time. So these are some things to spend on, spend time on. The other important critical thing is the scaling up part of it. These are the things to spend time on in the initial stages. Maybe let's say you do it for 2-3 years and you're doing well, buyers are liking your product, and you want to expand and scale up your operations. The thing to spend time on is then figuring out in building a team, hiring the right set of people, people that are as passionate and as connected to the product as you are. They are doing it for more than money. They're doing it because they believe in you and they believe in the brand that you are creating. And building that kind of team is very important because that's how you scale up businesses. With one person you can scale up it to a certain extent, but once you want to go into crores of rupees, you do need to have a team of people working on different things, whether it's operations, finance, design, or other aspects. So that the team building part becomes actually the most important part as you start to scale up the business, and that's where you spend most of the time.
Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you so much for being here with us, because you talked about time and we'll stick to time, and you've given 1 hour to all your people who really wanted to hear you. So there are a lot of startups here. There are academicians who are here today. There are young designers. There are designers in the making. And there are also a lot of entrepreneurs, who are already on your platform. So, and there are a lot of people who are looking at coming onto your platform. So I think our conversation has been fruitful with all the wonderful remarks that I see on the chat box. Thank you so much. And thank you to all our participants who could make it possible to attend the session. The session is also live on Facebook. So there's going to be a watch party as well. So you're going to see it there as well. So thank you so much. Follow our YouTube page, Arch College of Design and Business, and on Insta at arch_college, and on the Facebook as well. So keep tuned, because we are bringing such amazing people. And Chrcha, we've been organizing for the last 7 years. We're bringing very special people on this platform month after month. At times we have a panel, at times we have a very special person with one-to-one kind of conversation. So every month there is, and every Saturday we are doing a conversation. So next Saturday, we are likely to bring researchers, international researchers, likely from Amsterdam Fashion Institute and from Italy, to talk about research opportunities that are there in the field of design. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, everybody.